Welcome back, everyone. Or maybe you all should be saying welcome back to me. So let me apologize that it has been a couple of weeks since I was able to post a video. I've had a large project that I've been working on that everything was going wrong on. And it was taking up my entire table that I used to paint on. And I just didn't have anywhere else. There was nowhere else that I could paint easily, and I wasn't about to try to move my lights and my tripod and and all my setup somewhere else to do a painting. So, but I finally got it to a point yesterday that I could actually move it off of the table. It's just been a mess. So you all will get to see it. I have been videotaping my steps on it so that I could make a video for you all. So I'm still not done. I still have quite a bit left to do on it, but I will be hopefully getting it finished up within the next few days if I can get some good solid blocks of time to work on it. So, all right, but today, my idea that I've had before I started my big project was I want to try to do a geode type painting or an agate slice type painting with alcohol inks. Now, you can find a zillion, geode tumbler tutorials and resin things, which would be super fun. I would love to try and do some sort of resin geode, and I might attempt that at some point. But I wanted to do just a painting that looked sort of like an agate slice. Now, what got me thinking about this was this painting that you all had seen. I don't know why it didn't occur to me until just a couple of weeks ago. I just looked at it and thought, dang, that looks almost like an agate slice. It just needed a little bit more stuff here and there, and it would look a lot like an agate slice. What really got me thinking about it was the little lines, how much they look like sort of, crystals that have been sliced across, whatever. So I was thinking, wow, I wonder if I could do that. Yeah, and I did a lot of looking on YouTube, thinking, okay, because I had a good idea of how to start, but there were a few things that I just wasn't entirely sure about. And nobody does one like this. Now, I did find a couple that were done with alcohol ink, and they were really pretty, but they weren't what I was wanting to do. Wasn't what I was looking for. I didn't want something that I'd use a paintbrush with either. Or if I did, just very, very little. So, we're gonna experiment. Let's see what we can come up with, and hopefully it will turn out decently. And I'm kind of vague at the moment. I'm just kind of bleh. I'm out of it today. My allergies are killing me at the moment, and it's just, I don't know, my whole head's stopped up and I can't think. So I am going to do this, most likely, I think I'm going to do this on a fast motion for you all, because nothing that I'm going to be doing on this is going to be much different than anything I did on this, with the coming back in. And you'll be able to see when I'm doing something different, and I will do a voiceover to explain. But this is probably going to be a very long process, and so I don't want you all stuck for 2 hours or more watching this video as I do it in real time. So I will get to it. But first, let me tell you what I've got picked out here. Not sure if I'm going to use them all yet, and it's going to be really difficult for y'all to tell probably. But what I'm going to do is try and work my way in from darkest to lightest, but then I'll also make some of those bands of a darker color in there. These are all the Tim Holtz Ranger inks. This is Vineyard, Indigo, Amethyst, and Purple Twilight. And I also have some of the Pearl Mixative, the Ranger Pearl Mixative too. So this is what I'm going to try to use for the center, because and I may end up putting something like crushed glass in the center. I haven't decided yet, but I'm going to try doing a pearl center in it just to see how that's going to look. All right, I've also got my whatever this stuff is. Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. I am just so out of it. Pinata Brass. The Jacquard Pinata Brass. This is undiluted, just in a needle nose bottle for ease of application, because I get it in big bottles that don't have a tip on them. This is 99% isopropyl alcohol in this bottle. This is my Revlon brand styling brush hair dryer with the brush attachment removed. I'm going to be using it mostly on the cool setting, unless I just need to hit it with a blast of heat to dry something a little bit quicker. And then I just, flip it up to hot for just a second and then back down so that I don't warp my paper. This is the 9x12 Graphics Opaque White Craft Plastic. And while it will flatten back out some, if you warp it too badly, it won't. You're still going to be stuck with a warped painting. So, alright, well, I am going to get started on this and see what I can come up with. Alright, well, I will be joining you all with the voiceover in just a minute. First off, let me explain why I've got this video sped up so much. This took me somewhere around 4.5 hours total working time to get this done. So I figure nobody wanted to watch that, not even me. So yeah, I sped this up a lot. But there's not really anything that's not shown in other videos for specific techniques for how to do things. Like this part right here, this is where I was working on an outer edge for the geode look. Or not an agate slice. To me, this is more like an agate slice than a geode, but people just tend to sort of use those two terms interchangeably, even though they're not really, but okay, let's move on from that. So, all right. So anyway, yeah, that's why everything is really sped up a lot in this video. That was the only way to keep it. I try to keep them at least under an hour, preferably shorter if I can, but there was no way to do that with this without without speeding it up tremendously. So I apologize to those of you all who really do not like it when I speed up the video, but like I said, it would have just been impossibly long otherwise. So, all right, this you all have seen me do a lot before on other paintings. In fact, pretty much every single thing that I did in this, I'm just going to call it a geode. In this geode one, is things that I've done in other paintings. Or this right here, you'll see, let's see, I'm trying to, I can't think of the number of videos, but if you go to my channel homepage and look through my uploads, or go to the playlist that says alcohol ink tutorials, you will find a lot of videos that have some of this that I'm doing right here, because it's basically just putting down the ink and some pinata brass and then some isopropyl alcohol and moving it around. I'm not trying to wisp anything out right here. I just wanted to get that basic outline done. And now I did mix the two colors here, and yeah, I've totally forgotten what they were now. Vineyard and I can't remember. Vineyard and I think it was indigo. Can't swear to that, but I'm pretty sure that that's the color that it was. Anyway, I did that because I wanted a little bit of I'm sorry, y'all, I can't even think. A little bit of blend of two colors in there, and you get hints and bits of the individual colors, but then you get that third color from them where they mix together. So that was kind of why I used both of those colors in there. As you can see, I managed to get it all over the place and had to clean it up. Oh, excuse me. I apologize if I'm coughing and sneezing and stuff on you all. As I think I mentioned in, I may have mentioned, I don't even know, in another video. It may have been earlier in this one, but it's big time allergy season for me, and it's windy here today. Has been for a couple of days, so when the wind blows, the pollen gets worse. All right, so now here's where I started wisping. I tried to keep these wisps fairly narrow, and I overlapped each one of them as I went through. That helped keep it narrow, but it also, you know, it gave me more of the lines that I wanted. Like if you look at an agate slice, you'll see the little crystallized parts of it. A lot of it kind of goes in straight lines back out from the center. And so that's kind of the look that I was going for right here. What I should have done is printed out a picture probably of an agate slice and looked at it as I was doing this, but I was just kind of going by memory of seeing them before. So all I did right here was I worked my way all the way around. But I made sure I didn't come out too super far. You know, I had planned out kind of how far out I wanted to come because I knew how many different colors I wanted to use as I descended in towards the middle. I guess descended is not really the right word, but you know what I mean anyway. And I mean, that's really all that I did right here. And if you all see me pick up, can't remember when I finally did it, but there we go. The little pink tool that I have there, that is the exact same thing as the white one that you all have seen me use a lot. Something for acrylic painting. I totally forgot what it's called. It's just got a sharp pointy end and then a rounded end. You can use it to, you know, swirl and move things, and it works great in resin too. And I've lost my white one somewhere. I think it rolled underneath one of my shelves because I cannot find it. I remember it falling off of my table one day when I was painting, and yeah, I haven't been able to find it since, so I'm pretty sure it rolled up underneath a big supply shelf that I have in there. And hopefully I'll find it eventually. The only difference between the white one and the pink one is the pink one is just a little bit bigger diameter, which, you know, didn't really matter. It works exactly the same as the white one. So, all right. So part of the reason this took so long, because I don't want you all to be scared off from trying this, because it's not difficult. If you have been painting for a while, there's really no technique in here that you haven't used. It's, you know, just a different way of using them. So, you know, don't let the time scare you off. This is something you can work on and then put down and come back to, and you know, and that's what I had to do. I don't have the time, for one thing, to just sit for 4.5 hours and work on something, but I don't have the patience either. No, can't do that. I'm just not that kind of person. All right, so, My mind blanked out while I was I was getting ready to tell you all something. Oh, as I was coming back with this, you'll notice I tried to make, when I pushed back towards the ink that's already down, I tried to build up a heavier line of it because I wanted that to be, another part of the line of the geode and differentiate from the part with the gold on it and the part with the lines. I hope I'm making some kind of sense. It's when it's the first time that I've, done something, I'm playing it by ear when I'm doing it. I'm just kind of making guesses and trying things and seeing how it works. So sometimes it's really difficult for me to tell you all exactly what I did. But yeah, I did. You can see that dark line forming at the back side of the wispy part. And that's where I was trying to push it back and keep it all right there together. There was a spot or two. This one I'm working on right there is I didn't have quite enough ink there. And so I could not get a good dark line built up right there. But I did not notice that when I was working on that part. I only noticed it later. And so I couldn't go back and fix it at that point. So I just dealt with it the way it was. All right. Once I got done with this, and I did not add any brass in with this part. It picked up a little bit of brass from the rest of it, but I didn't put any more in. All right, so that was the Tim Holtz Ranger Color Pearl, the Pearl Mixative. I was getting this ready because I knew I was going to need it in a few minutes. I just mixed it with some blending solution in that bottle. Now, I can't give you specific measurements. I have no idea. But I would say somewhere close to half and half, but probably a little more blending solution than pearl. All right, so I set that aside, and now I'm using the pearl straight out of the bottle because I wanted a thick line there. And you'll see I just kind of, went jaggedy around the edges of that and then dried it with my hair dryer, with my trusty hair dryer. And now that is the blending solution and pearl mixed together in a needle nose bottle right there. I did it this way because I wanted these lines to be very thin. I wanted them even thinner than the purple ones. And it's very difficult for me. I don't know if it is for everyone, but it's really difficult for me to work with pearls. Some of you have heard me say on some of my other videos, I don't like them. I love the way they look. They're very pretty. But I don't like working with them just for the style of painting. The style of painting that I do, because they don't wisp. They don't want to move good, and you have to use blending solution with them. And that stuff is expensive. I mean, a little bottle of it is $8 and something for maybe a 4-ounce bottle? Something, I'm not even sure if there's 4 ounces in it, but anyway, somewhere around a 4-ounce bottle, I think, is $8, where I can get isopropyl alcohol for half of that for, 5 times the size. So anyway, all right, so I mix it together there because if I had started trying to do it on the paper itself or on the graphics craft plastic, I would have ended up with much wider lines than what I wanted. So that is the reason that I did that. And I also did not want the blending solution like going all over the place. I didn't want to have it out everywhere. I don't know if that makes any sense. I didn't want to risk it moving back across my white line that I did around. I had to be really careful going around through there as it was, because that because there is blending solution in the pearl that I'm putting down now, it would reactivate that line of the pearl right behind. So I had to be real careful about stopping and, keeping good control over the ink. And that is one thing I would recommend, that if you are brand new to this, you might not want to try this yet until you have a little bit of control with using the hairdryer and getting the inks to go where you want them to. Because you don't want to have big offshoots of ink shoot through a part that you've already done, and then have to try to go back and fix it, because it's going to be a different color. Had the pearl run over into the purple for me right here, it would have been impossible to make it look right. I mean, I can't think of any way that I could have fixed it that would not have really kind of messed things up for what I wanted to do anyway. So again, it's just working all the way around, and you'll see I had to use my little stick a whole lot more on this because that pearl is, like I've said, harder to move than just the regular alcohol inks, and it didn't always want to go where I wanted it to go. It was kind of drying up and stopping before I could get it all the way down to meet the line. But that's also another good thing to use the stick for, is if you want to stop like that, if you use something like the stick or the back of a paintbrush or whatever, it will help keep you from blowing your ink over that line if you just finish it off with something else, kind of dab it in there. But you've got to do it before your ink dries, or you're just going to end up with little, like sort of spiky looking or divot looking places in there where you tap it in. So just, be cautious with, even if you're just using the stick. But it does help to kind of give you a little more control when you get back close to that line again. All right. Oh, you'll notice I'd forgotten to mention this. The reason that's on that black paper right now is because I was getting ink all over my hands. I had put down so much ink and so much brass. And if you've done this before, you know that the more you put down, the longer it takes to dry. And so it was really tacky, and it kept sticking to my fingers, and I was afraid I was going to mess up the painting. Plus, every time I would touch something that was still white, I was having sticky purple stuff come off on the painting, which is one reason I had to clean it up so much there that one time. So I stuck a little tape on the back side of the painting and stuck it down on that piece of black, just so I would have something to kind of hold on to turn the painting. Now, I know I've mentioned before, but I'm going to say it again because I know somebody's going to bring this up. Well, why don't I use a Lazy Susan? Well, I have one. I just don't use it. It's hard for me to use because I like to pick up my painting and move it and angle it and have it go in different spots. And, it's just difficult for me to use. Plus, mine is just too high. And I feel like the painting is just too close to my face when I'm working on it. Sorry for the hat there. You'll see that a few times. I almost always have a hat on when I'm painting just to keep my hair out of my eyes. And every now and then I lose track of where I'm going with it, and it gets over in the painting. Excuse me. Or in the video. But I don't think it blocked anything, so I don't think you missed much. Now you can see I got a tad of purple in it right there. But, all right, so here I am going back with the pearl again. Just going to go around with it and, outline, make my lines right there. Now here I decided to make it wider, so I went around it a couple of times. I'm trying to remember how many. You'll see here in a minute, but I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 times because I wanted more lines right there. And I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead here and tell you what I do that's coming up next. So you'll see me squirt out some purple ink, which I think was color amethyst, I think. But you'll see me squirt it out into a little cup. Because my thought was, okay, I'm going to just use a paintbrush and make a purple line now inside of the white line. And then I changed my mind because I decided that was going to be I didn't want it that dark. I wanted it a light purple color. So then I took the purple ink that I already squirted out, and I dumped it into the needle nose bottle that I had the pearl and the blending solution mixed up in. So I ended up with sort of a purple pearl. That's hard to say. It's difficult for you all to see when I'm painting on that purple because it was much lighter than I mean, it doesn't look all that light on the paper. I can see it good, but I realized when I went back and was putting all these video pieces together that you all couldn't really see it. It just kind of looks like I'm painting nothing onto the painting. But anyhow, that's what I did. I just mixed it all up together. I didn't use the needle nose applicator with this because I was afraid it would be too runny, and I didn't want a huge thick line. So I just got a little paintbrush and painted it on instead. So I just dipped it into I took the lid off the needle nose bottle and just dipped it into it. But you can kind of see what I'm talking about. It's very difficult for you all to see what I'm doing there. Looks like imaginary paint when I look at it on my phone. And there comes the hat again. Anyway, I did want the lighter color because I knew I was going to make the center dark. I really wanted that center to pop, to kind of stand out. And so I did want to make it real dark. But I did want to have some sort of lead into it instead of going straight from white to a dark purple. I did want to have that little bit of a lighter purple just to help sort of blend it in together there a little bit. And, if you're going to do this, just, keep your irregular lines going around if you want it to look a little more realistic. So there is the color amethyst, which I kept thinking of, amethyst geodes. But, yeah, I put quite a bit down for such a small space, as you can see. And I think I actually end up putting more down than... Oh, no, I went back and put another color on top of that. What did I put on it? I want to say vineyard. I'm pretty sure I put vineyard on top of that because I wasn't happy with the color. It looked too bluish to me. I wanted something that was more purple than what this is. I mean, this is still purple, but it was a little too indigo looking with the kind of blue shade to it. So you'll see after I spread this out here, I went back and added the vineyard on top and just sort of moved it all around. Now you'll see I'm being real careful again to keep the ink from running up over the lines that I made. And doing it right here was, in the center part, was definitely one of the trickiest parts to doing this, because I knew if that purple got loose and shot over into the white, yep, there we go, vineyard, that was going to be impossible to fix. I mean, without making a whole new ring in there somewhere and doing that all the way around again, it was going to be really difficult to fix. So I was trying to be very careful right there. And now when I got done sort of blending these two inks together, I actually liked the way that it looked. And I thought about just leaving it like it was. But it just wouldn't have been geode enough for me. um, so I did decide to go ahead and do the lines to make it more crystal looking in the center here. Now these were a little tricky because it was in such a small space that the alcohol wanted to come out. I mean, it comes out, even if you use just a drop of it, it was too much for some of the space that I was working in. So it did get just a little bit tricky right there. And I tried to think of, any other way that I could get the alcohol down, but everything else I could think of was either going to be not enough alcohol or was going to run into the same problem of being too much. So, but it ended up working. It was just a little bit tricky in the very small spaces, to keep it from going too far. All right, so you should be able to start seeing now how I am trying to run that ink back up the center, because I wanted the super dark line in the center. So as I would just sort of wash the alcohol back and forth a time or two, but I always ended on like going towards the center and then, steering that one little stream of alcohol or ink and alcohol that was still running, steering it down that center line. That's the best way to make that a dark line in the center if you want one. And if you want, a thin line, that's also, once again, that's exactly how you would do it. I've done some paintings where I have talked about that before as well, making that thin line instead of having a big blob kind of in the middle, which I've managed to do too. But just make sure you get your ink and alcohol mixture narrowed down to one little stream, finger, I don't know, and try and keep it running down the center of where you want it to go. Excuse me, I had to stop yawning for a second. I know your all's ears are going, phew, I'm glad she had to stop and yawn for a second. All right, but you can see one reason why this took so long. It just takes a long time to keep going around and around and around and making all these different, tiny little wispies to make it, to give it the look that I wanted. Oh my gosh. Oh, sorry. Yawning again. The yawn made my nose stop up worse. Anyway, it was very time consuming doing that. All right. Once I got done with this, which I'm almost done right here, so I'm going to go ahead and start talking about the next part. I debated on leaving it like this, but then I decided, why not do it more like the resin geodes that I've seen people do and put a little crushed glass in it. And I didn't want glitter. Now, I'm a big fan of glitter. I love glitter. Love to play anything glittery, rainbowy, iridescent. Love the stuff. But I didn't want glitter in this. And crushed glass to me was going to give it a closer to realistic look. So what I did was, first I ordered some crushed glass because I didn't have any. Then I got some diamond glaze and I put it in a needle nose bottle so I could get a thinner layer of it to come out. And I just, went around the edge of that. I debated back and forth on putting it in the center, but after discussing it with a couple of people that I had shown the painting to, we all agreed that that dark purple center was just too pretty and it wasn't a good idea to cover it up. So I did decide to go around this section, and then around the very outer ring, that outer edge of the biggest ring. Now, one thing I did kind of wish in the end that I had made my, I'm just pushing some of the glass back up right there. Oh, if y'all do this, be real careful, because this is, well, or seal it first. I did not seal this first. I had to be really careful not to let that glass scratch the inks, because they can be easily scratched right now. And had I been thinking, I would have sealed it first, but I just was not thinking when I started this, and then by the time I realized that, it was too late. So I just kept on going and tried to be really, really careful with it. And I have no idea what I was saying before. Y'all are going to quit watching me and listening to me, because my brain is gone these days. I get to talking about one thing, skip to something else, and then I can't remember what I was talking about before. So, I wish I had put on my diamond glaze a little bit, in a little bit thinner line in that one in the center. Because I didn't think about this, the weight of the glass actually caused it to spread. It looked like it was very thin, but that glass did kind of push it down and spread it out a little bit. So it did end up just a little bit wider than what I wanted it to. But, you know, all in all, I was very happy with the way this turned out. So luckily for you all, there's only a minute or so left here before I'm done with this voiceover part, and you don't have to listen to me ramble anymore. So, all right, well, all I do is just finish putting this glass on. I actually left it overnight just to be on the safe side, and then I will come back to y'all in just a few minutes, or just a few seconds probably, and show you the final reveal of it. All right, we have arrived at the moment of truth. I hope that this is dry. I'm pretty sure it is. Oh, yeah. It is. All right, so let's see how this looks, because I have no idea. Salvage a bunch of this stuff. Stuff's not as cheap as I would like it to be, but it's very pretty. And I'm making a mess, trying not to bend the painting too badly. I'm going to be picking up little broken glass shards out of here for the next 3-4 days. All right. Yep. I am happy with it. Probably the only thing that I think I would have done a little differently is I might have tried to put less of the diamond glaze on it. I mean, I know that it's like a dimensional adhesive, so it's going to stand up some, but I kind of wanted a little bit of a thin layer, but that's okay. I'm happy with this. And one thing I notice that will be good to keep in mind for future activities if I use this, because I've never used the diamond glaze on alcohol ink before. And so I noticed that it has sort of reactivated the ink. It just well, I probably did it a little bit all over, but where the ink was the darkest is where I can see it the best. So keep that in mind. Probably would have been a good idea for me to go ahead and seal this before I put that on there. And then I wouldn't have to worry about that. So, sorry, I was just knocking off a little more loose pieces while I was talking to you. But anyway, well, that is it. I am for, you know, an attempt at doing a agate slice, geode, whatever you want to call it, with alcohol inks. I have to say, I'm really happy with it. I, you know, just have not been sure if there was any way to do it. So I'm really happy with this. And I really feel like these lines look a lot like what you'll see if you actually look at an agate slice. Now, you know, sorry, there was like one little shard sticking up there that was really bugging me. So, all right, well, anyway, now I may try and do this again in another color. I would like to do it in the blues and greens, you know, that I did on the painting that sort of inspired me to try this. So, anyway, that is it for this one. I really hope that all of you all enjoyed this. And before I go, let me say a really big shout out and thank you to Rita Ink for her tip to me on PayPal, because that helped finance this video. So Rita, you are the sponsor of this video, and I really appreciate it. That's always nice to hear. You had a very nice message with it, and I really do appreciate that. It meant a lot to me. All right, well, y'all, that's it for today, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry it took me so long to get this done, but I had to stop working on my big project finally to manage to get a video up for you all, and now I got to go back to work on my big project, which I can hopefully have done sometime in the next few days and get a video up for it. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. I love all of you. Thank y'all so much for taking the time to watch this today. And I will be back with y'all again real soon. Bye, everyone.